welcome to another episode of Armored Warfare. This is Tanks for the Mammeries, and today we're going to be reviewing the Tier 7 Chinese TD called the Assaulter. This is a vehicle that's been put into the game recently, last month or so, and I've just gotten around to doing a review on it. I played a couple of games in it, and I really think it's a stinker, but what we'll do is we'll play 2 games in this as we talk about it. We'll compare some of the stats here, and then you guys can make up your own mind afterwards. I'll give you my opinion, and we will go from there. Essentially, to me, it looks like a school bus with a gun stuck on the top of it. This is typical Chinese style of vehicle. It's one where they took essentially an existing armored personnel carrier type vehicle, 6-wheel, all-wheel drive armored personnel carrier, and stuck a big-ass gun on the top of it. What you need to know about this gun is that it is a 100 millimeter gun, not a 105, not a 120, not a 140. It's a 100 millimeter gun, and so while it loads a little quicker, it is not the most accurate, nor is it the hardest hitting gun out there. And in Tier 7, you do have a couple of other vehicles that are, in the tech tree, and some premiums. And so, you need to look at those and sort of compare the Chinese vehicle with some of the other ones that you might meet on the battlefield, as well as the main battle tanks that it will go up against in Tier 7, 8, 9, 6, whatever. So let's pull up the stats on this real quick. Oh, and by the way, it is on sale right now. It is the 20th of August, and this vehicle is on sale at a discount in the premium shop of 20%. You can buy it for gold right now at 4,400 gold. So, if it's something you want when this is all said and done, feel free to go to the gift shop or the premium shop and get one. But let's look at it compared to a couple of other vehicles that are in the same tier as the Assaulter. The first one I'm going to pull up is the Centauro, and this is the Centauro Wolf Edition, which is another premium vehicle, but essentially the Wolf Edition vehicles are the regular vehicle with, a fully upgraded crew and all the retrofit slots. So, for what it's worth, this is a fully upgraded Centauro versus a Assaulter. But you can see here, and the other one we're going to check out is the LAV 600. But right now you can see that the Centauro's got a 120 millimeter gun, so it's obviously pushing almost 200, a little over 200 hit points and damage per round more. It has less penetration by 10 millimeters than the Assaulter does, but the damage per minute is still higher because of this alpha damage. So this does 6,600 a minute. This does 6,800 a minute. You have a reload time of 4.86 seconds because obviously it's a smaller caliber by 20 millimeters than the Centauro does at 6.42. The hit points on this vehicle are higher by about 200, 180 or so, but the the rest of the stats are fairly similar across the board here for defense. When it comes to mobility, the Italian vehicle has a much higher max speed. It has a much faster acceleration by almost a little over 2 seconds. And, hull traverse we don't really give a shit about because it's just, whatever. When it comes to camouflage, the vehicles are very similar, as well as very similar when it comes to view range. The gun depression on the Centauro is better by about 4 degrees. The accuracy spread is pretty much exactly the same. The aim time on the 100 millimeter gun is a little less, about half a second less for the Assaulter versus the Wolf, and the turret traverse is much faster on the Assaulter. But because both of these are pretty much sniping vehicles, you do not want to get in a knockdown, drag out fist fight with other vehicles when you're in these. Are these stats down here significant enough to make a difference in play style? Not really. What I say is these stats up here, which is the damage and penetration, damage per minute, reload time, things like that, are really what sort of makes the difference between the two vehicles. In the Assaulter, you have the opportunity to do a lot more damage in supporting your teammates versus the Centauro Wolf 120, where you can do a lot more alpha damage as a killer on the battlefield. So, this is sort of the Vulture vehicle, and this is sort of the attacking vehicle. So, that's the difference between those two. But let's take a look also at the LAV 600. So, here we have the LAV, and again, damage for the American vehicle is a little bit higher, and that's more because it's got 105 millimeter versus 100 millimeter. The penetration is less than on the Chinese vehicle. The damage per minute is less. The reload time is higher, but it has more hit points. It is again also faster. It's faster from 0 to 32, and it's got a better hull traverse, which again, don't really give a shit about. The camouflage is about the same. Again, the view range is 10 meters further in the LAV. The gun depression is pretty much the same. The accuracy on the LAV is better. The aim time is equivalent, and the turret traverse is slower. So, again, the Chinese vehicle as a premium vehicle is pretty much right in the sweet spot for Tier 7. But I got to tell you, I do feel like that this vehicle is really slow, really big, and I feel like the gun is crap. But let's play a couple of games and see what we think. So I've got this, my crew is at Tier 2. I've got my Scout Commander, Sabrina Washington, in the vehicle. So we've got some increased aim speed, increased vision range, camo factor, that sort of thing. Let's go ahead and put the maintenance field kit in there, just so we have it. Let's auto resupply. I've added some retrofits, including the gyroscopic stabilizer to increase my rate of fire and aim time. I've added the magnetic actuator to increase damage and aim time. I've got my enhanced drivetrain for turret traverse speed and maximum speed. And I've added the intercom system to improve my crew stats. So, trying to overcome some of the generic weaknesses in this vehicle by adding the retrofits and some of the crew skills. So, anyway, that's kind of how I feel you need to play this vehicle. Again, you do not want to get into knife fights similar to pretty much all of the wheeled TDs. You want to use this to move from spot to spot on the battlefield very quickly and use the gun as long-range support. So let's go ahead and jump into a PvE mission here. Operation Meltdown. Okay, whatever. And again, Chinese vehicles. So when the Chinese Communist Party took over China, essentially starting in the 1940s during the Second World War, where Chiang Kai-shek's forces were fighting both the Japanese and the Communist forces, the Communists were doing everything they could to ally themselves with the largest other communist country in the world, which was the Soviet Union. And they, over the years, aligned themselves with the Soviet Union and not only purchased but also through various other methods acquired a significant chunk of Soviet weaponry, heavy weaponry, and that's everything from the AK-47 all the way up to submarines and ships and tanks and things like that. And they ended up doing a lot of sort of reverse engineering of those vehicles and a lot of American vehicles, which they acquired from Chiang Kai-shek's army in the 1940s, through to stealing things as time went on. So, most of their stuff though is based on Soviet-style vehicles. Now, the Chinese indigenous arms industry is growing by leaps and bounds, and they're coming up with some really interesting things these days. But for the most part, they still the bones and skeleton and basis of all Asian weaponry or Chinese weaponry is old Soviet style hardware. And bearing that in mind, that's typically what we see on the Chinese tech tree so far. And I think that, as I said, the Chinese indigenous armaments industry is actually growing and getting better, but they're still pretty much stealing a lot of technology from the West. And, they've got, nowadays in real life, they've got stealth aircraft, and they've got decent submarines and things like that. What they don't really have is a lot of the major scientific and technological industries to bring all this stuff to fruition. Oh, he just kind of popped up randomly. Fuck you. I don't know if I can do this without falling down in the river. I'm gonna try. I've got no gun depression on this thing. Jesus Christ. That hurts. Need a tank up here. Similar to like some of the BTR 60, 70, 80s, this is sort of what this vehicle is based on, is the old BTR chassis. Ooh. That was it. Whoa, did I kill him by myself? Oh, ricochet my ass. I hate those fucking things. Okay, you can have a shot at him. You're gonna get right in front of me? Awesome. Dam survived. Let's get up to the top. Again, I do not feel like this vehicle's got great speed. It feels a little anemic, a little underpowered. But for something that's going to sit on the back of the battlefield, sure, it's fine. And obviously, being a premium, it's going to do things for you to increase, your reputation and credits and all that sort of stuff. And then, whatever, it's good. But I just feel like this is certainly not a vehicle I want to be taken into PvP. I'll tell you that right now. PvE is fine, but I would never take this into PvP. He's got that one. Yeah, the ERC is going to get the other one, so that's fine. See how anemic it is going uphill? This is a wheeled vehicle. This thing should be going uphill like nobody's business. So, in this, basically the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I'm oversimplifying here, but basically in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the Chinese and the Russians ended up having a few border fights in the Siberian parts of Asia. And because of that, the Russians stopped shipping the Chinese stuff. Oop, I knew that was not going to go. I shouldn't have fired that one. Oh, fuck off. Haha. Missed me. Trying to get me, you little fucker. See, that shit pisses me off. Yeah, I'm gonna go get that guy. So the Chinese and the Russians, the Chinese and the Soviets had a number of border fights. Oops. And because of those border fights, the Soviets decided they didn't want to give any more money to the Chinese or any more weapons to the Chinese, and they decided that they were going to stop supporting them. And that was a Brezhnev kind of thing. And both sides, relatively inconclusive fights for the most part, and both sides sort of, you know, love to hate each other, but also hated to love each other. So there was, and a lot of this took place during Vietnam. Where's that guy? Oh yeah, this is not going to work very well. Oh, you didn't hit me. Um, the Vietnamese sort of played all the sides off against each other in order to get support for their cause against the U.S. in the Vietnam War. And so throughout the 60s and 70s, China and the Soviet Union were both supporting the Vietnamese. And, from time to time they would have disagreements with each other, and Vietnam would play off whatever side they felt like they could get the best deal from. And, the Vietnamese, sort of like today with the Koreans, the North Koreans anyway, the Vietnamese would pass along shit that they got from the Americans, as well as stuff they got from the Russians, and the Chinese would do what they could to sort of remanufacture those things on behalf of the Chinese military. And, oh man, some artillery pieces firing over here at this fucking stuff. I'm going to go over there and see if I can fucking stop that. And today's Chinese military still very much follows along in the footsteps of that time period. And you end up seeing a lot of the history of vehicles in this modernization of the Chinese military. They're trying to get away from the, Korean War style 8 zillion guys, sort of swarming a more technologically advanced foe into becoming a military that does have technology on its side as well. And, setting aside the whole editorial of America's industry moving to China and giving Chinese access to all of these high-tech American innovations like iPhones and shit like that, you kind of see the Chinese putting a tremendous amount of money and effort and energy into improving the technological quality of their military, the Joint Strike Fighter, and other things like that the Chinese are programs that are being implemented right now. And that includes also submarine warfare, where they've stolen U.S. nuclear submarine technology, including the propeller blades and things like that for the ships, advanced avionics components for nuclear weapons, and navigation to hull coating and high quality subsystems that are used for sonar and radar and things like that. So, you know, you got to say that the Chinese are doing their very best to catch up to the West, using a lot of espionage for that purpose. And you're going to come back, come back, come back, come back, come over here. Oh, I thought I was him. Well, there he is now. That hurt. There's another. I mean, the gun hits, but I'm just not a huge fan. Man, we're gonna fucking lose this because this goddamn reactor. He's way over there. Fucker. I went for the artillery that I thought was coming from the other side based on the shell tracers, but it didn't seem to work. We're gonna lose this match. I'm about to die. God damn it. This gun is really inaccurate. You see how close I was to shooting that fucking guy? And we still almost, we missed him? God damn it. Yeah. So, again, that's why you don't want to get in a knife fight with these things. It is what it is. It is not a brawler. And I was, what, 50 meters away from that vehicle when I missed? Yeah, of course I was firing on the move, but still, 50 meters, you should have fucking hit that guy. Because the aim circle was completely within, the vehicle was encompassed by the aim circle. So I should have been able to kill that guy, or hit that guy, which means my second shot would have killed him, which means that I would not have died. Oh, that was bad. This Challenger has all his health. He needs to fucking pick up the pace here. Anyway, I was babbling on about the Chinese and Russian influences, and, you know, it is what it is. I got myself into a brawl trying to go after the bad guys over there. We got a minute. We saved the reactor. Did we save it? Yes, we won. Well, I'm surprised. I didn't think we'd win that. So, there's some impressions. Let's try this in one more fight, and we will give our final impressions at the end of the video. So, thanks everybody, and let's move on to the next one. Let's see here. Oh, I'm still drinking beer. Let's see what we did. 10,000 XP, whatever. Got another crate, steel, whatever. Decent amount of damage. Obviously the Challenger 1 was able to bull his way into everything and just do, because he's invincible in PvE. But I'm pleased with those results in general. I just don't feel like this is a very inspired vehicle. I missed 10. A lot of that was me talking to you guys and not really paying a whole lot of attention, but one of those for sure was less than 50 meters. Vehicle was completely within the aim circle and it still missed. And that's just a function of the accuracy of this gun. 17 damage. I should have gotten... I guess somebody else damaged more than I did. 42 hits. Just got smoked by that BMP at the end there, but that's what it is. So, yeah, it's okay. Is it great? No. Let's do one more fight in it now that it's not the times 2 mission, and we will see what we get. This is going to be Anvil. Do it. It's a port battle, so again, this vehicle needs to be one that stands off in the distance, does not take a great amount of return fire, and is used purely as a supporting vehicle for your main battle tanks. When you have to get in close and do something, it's probably not the vehicle for that. Neither is the LAV, neither is the mobile gun system. I get it. Ramka, yeah, 2 tanks. 2 tanks only. This is going to be tough. Yeah, not the fight I wanted. Got it. Let's go to heat, see what happens. Such a huge vehicle. Only 2 tanks. Going to require a lot of support. Right.
PLM have liberated the port and the cargo ship. Please take back control of the port area so civilian shipping can resume. There are also SAMs in the area. Clearing out those missiles will allow special forces to land on those ships and retake them. Good luck, Black Company. The PLM has a surprise for us. Find cover and fight your way out of there.
Oh. Now. God damn it. Come on. Come on. He didn't work for shit. Well, we're just doing it just so you don't have to. Very slow. And this is with good crew skills on speed and acceleration and all that shit. This is just slow vehicle. I'm toast. How did that happen? Where the fuck was that coming from? Oh, it did go through the metal wall? Well, so much for that fight. Well, anyway, you can see from that we have absolutely no armor whatsoever. The Challenger hit me, T-72 hit me, all with Sabo. Stingray, yeah, so, anyway. Not the best fight in the world, but that's pretty much exemplifies this vehicle. Don't charge in, which I did. Don't use heat. stick back in the back and support your main battle tanks from a distance. Use sabot rounds, and don't knife fight. But also recognize the vehicle is not the quickest at displacing from one side of the battlefield to the other, and the gun is not the most accurate in the world. So that's my general impression. If it was given to me, fine. Would I buy it? No. There are other better vehicles out there, like the Centauro, things like that, that I would purchase before I would get this Assaulter. Especially at this tier, there are other much better TDs. And bearing that in mind, not only does it look like shit, it drives like crap, and the gun is a very lightweight gun for the tier, especially since you're going to be seeing vehicles in higher tiers. So anyway, everybody, that is the Assaulter. This is Tanks for the Mammeries. The game is Armored Warfare, and I appreciate you guys watching. Feel free to leave your comments in below the video here. I'd like to know what you guys think about this vehicle, as well as the other ones I've reviewed lately, which include the AMX 10 RCR, the Challenger 1 Falcon, and some of the other premium vehicles that have recently come into the game, including the M62000. And let me know what you think. Again, Tanks for the Mammeries, please do like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support I get from you guys, and I will catch you on the next one. Signing off for now. I'll see you guys on the battlefield.